they thought, oh, wow, suddenly my Turbo Fog deck has this way that can win on its own. So interesting here. Let's see how Robert. Oh, it's actually he calls his deck Maze's End. Oh yeah, that's right.
That's the win con.
He has three copies of Maze's End in the deck. Yeah. So basically, just tries to fog every turn and win by getting a bunch of guild gates in play, or he can win now with either Jace Architect of Thought or Curing Crash.
There have been some slight upgrades since he's playing Defend the Hearth, Fog, Riot Control, and one Aetherize as his fogs. Those are pretty much the best options available. You also could have Druid's Deliverance, I suppose.
And the one Aetherize is just so sweet because I always want to see that card just blow someone out. You always want to just see Aetherize just take someone to town, but probably not going to be in the main deck after board against Esper Control.
All right, so both players just trading lands in the first few turns. Robert has already assembled 3 of the guild gates on his first 3 turns. And I think what the deck gets a little upgrade in is that it already had Urban Evolution, but with Kiora, it can actually power out gates faster if it wants to.
And to be honest, control that it's really difficult for Tannon's deck to kind of deal with Maze's End. I mean, this is sort of what we saw back in Pro Tour San Diego, I believe it was. Back when, Aetherling sort of had its coming out party. All those control decks, there was some Maze's End decks that were really just beating up on those decks.
Well, I was piloting one of those. I will tell you, I did not beat up on any decks that tournament. And we see Crackling Perimeter, the turn 3 play from Robert, and it's going to go ahead and get Detention Sphere by Tannon, but that will tap him out, and now Robert can play Kiora. He will minus it and immediately drop a Dimir Guildgate. And that last card's a Hallowed Fountain, so he's still missing the Azorius Guildgate. He has 4 gates, but he does have the required Maze's End in play.
So huge turn there for Robert. He was able to not only get a Kiora into play, but get now a 6-3 mana advantage over Tannon.
Yeah, mana seems really key here. He's boarded in this Crackling Perimeter sideboard. In this matchup that generally does not matter is what I would say. He already has his trump card in play, and that card's Maze's End. It really puts a lot of pressure on Tannon to win. Tannon has 1 Pithing Needle in his 75.
Yeah.
And he's going to need that I don't think he can race the Maze's End without it.
No. But Robert has just so many fogs that he can board out in this matchup that I think it's worth just trying to bring in more threats.
So while he's tapped out, Robert will go ahead and Revelation for 4. Right now, remember, the gate count is still at 4, but there is a Maze's End, so it's a virtual 5. Remember that he has to actually activate Maze's End to get the last gate, if the last gate's in his, so he can't just, play the last gate from his hand. Or he can, but he still has to activate.
And he needs to have all the different guild gates in play, not just 10 random gates.
Right.
So let's see here. It looks like he is going to activate it.
Maybe separating them out there. So we have Boros, we have Selesnya, we have Golgari, and they will be joined by Rakdos.
And he's going to be able to replay his Maze End this turn. So yeah, Golgari. Yeah, it looks like it's a Golgari. I
think it's 5. I think he has Azorius, Golgari, Selesnya, Boros, Rakdos. So he has almost all the RTR. He has the RTR guilds. He's missing the gate crash one.
So 5-turn clock for Tannon here. Let's see what he can do. It looks like he drew a Mutavault. That is not going to be fast enough.
Yeah, this was the matchup that was very good for Maze's End. Now, in Pro Tour San Diego, it was a little problematic because the Esper decks all had Night Veil Specters in their sideboard, and if a Night Veil Specter ever hit the wrong gate off the top of your deck, oh man, you lost. So there were issues, but as we see Selesnya Guildgate in his hand.
So Robert looks like he's just going to activate Maze End. He does have, it looks like he has a couple of copies of Sphinx of Revelation in his hand, but he looks like he's just going to keep activating Maze's End and try to get this win.
Yeah, well, the thing is there's no reason, what would he draw that it needs to be cast? He has actually his best pressure already on the board.
Yeah, it looks like he has a couple copies of Detention Sphere to deal with any problematic cards out of Tannon. So yeah, really just keep activating those Maze's End. He doesn't know about the Pithing Needle, obviously, but Pithing Needle can be answered by Detention Sphere. So Robert's in pretty good shape right here. Tannon's under basically a 4-turn clock, effectively.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're playing Maze's End, there's a short list of cards that you have to be worried about. One of them actually, in block that you were worried about, and I don't know if this is still a thing, was Psychic Strike as a counterspell out of Esper. There was the chance that if you cast a spell, they would Psychic Strike you and mill one of your gates, and you would lose. So actually, once you got to this point in the game, you would actively just try to cast nothing so that there would be nothing for them to Psychic Strike.
It sounds like a delightful format. Dodging Psychic Strike.
I mean, it was, how bad would it be if right now, if Robert, he's only playing one Dimir Guildgate. If it got milled by a Psychic Strike, how bad would that be for him?
The way you describe this format is no surprise to me that Josh Utterlayton made top 8 with just mono red beatdown.
I will tell you, I actually played and lost to Josh in that Pro Tour. I lost every round with this deck, but that was the one I almost won. He had to peel a double Boros Charm to kill me in game 3. But yes, no, his deck was very well positioned, nonetheless.
So Tannon draws looks like he drew another Temple of Deceit here, but has no answer to that maze, and there's just a bunch of counter spells and Glare of Heresies.
Well, Tannon has so many dead cards that I think, just like Robert, all his sideboard cards come in here. Yeah. And it's questionable how relevant they are. You know, like Glare is for the Detention Sphere that Robert might someday cast.
Yeah. So this has got to be one of the more demoralizing ways to lose, I think, at Magic. Just watching your opponent search out Guild Gates.
For extra weapons, you can start drawing patterns with the Guild Gates, as you know. Sure.
So now I believe he's got, does he have 8 Guild Gates in play now?
I believe that one was his 8th Guild Gate, yes. So we have 2 turns remaining. And now he's going to have to go and discard. He's going to discard Supreme Verdict.
So it looks like he only has 1 copy of Boros Guildgate, 1 copy of Rakdos Guildgate, 1 Dimir Guildgate, and 1 Golgari Guildgate. But he got all 4 of those into play,
well, yeah.
So there's not the risk of drawing it.
Yeah, the black mana Guildgates are the ones he only has 1 of, it looks like. Mm-hmm. Those not as relevant. He does not. I don't think he has actually any black cards in the 75.
Looks like Tannon did draw an Aetherling, but it might be it's a little too late scenario for Tannon right here. Or maybe he has an opportunity, it looks like. Oh, he did draw an Aetherling.
Yeah, an Aetherling is what he has to try to land it, I would think, here.
He doesn't have a 7th mana to protect it from a Supreme Verdict, and he saw that Robert just discarded one, so there's a chance he might have it. But yeah, there's not much Tannon can do here.
Yeah, probably more than a chance, right? He just has to assume that Robert has it, but he's going to just discard Dissolve.
So probably a safe bet that Robert does have an answer to an Aetherling. So looks like he's just going to...
The question if you're Tannon is what game plan are you on here, right? It's not, he's clearly holding up counter spells for something, but the wind's on the board. It's almost like Tannon he just has to find Pithing Needle, I would think.
And I don't think it's going to matter.
He found gate number 10. The maze has been completed, and Robert Temenak, 2-1, defeats Tannon Grace.
Well, we knew it was going to be a tough matchup for Tannon. It would be interesting if we got to see Robert Temenak's Maze End deck play against Brad Nelson's Red White Burn deck. That's a matchup I would like to see.
Maze End has a bunch of really difficult matchups. I will go ahead and throw that out.
I do not think Maze's End would be an effective win condition against Brad's deck.
Well, there are some problems. Fog, for example, doesn't really work against a burn deck.
And it also, and even the preventing damage, Skullcrack gets around that as well.
They main deck. The fact that they play main deck Skullcrack is a nightmare.